the main thing, and most of you should know this, is that you're moving from this single tenant, either on-prem or cloud-hosted version, and going to a multi-tenant SaaS environment where you will no longer have direct access to the transactional data. So old reports or data feeds that source directly from Oracle for Banner or SQL Server or Unidata for Colleague now must source from the Insights data warehouse or SaaS compliant APIs, or some other maybe data feed to a separate data warehouse. But originally, those are kind of the two main points of connection. So all of your reports that were directly accessing the transactional Banner or transactional Colleague will need to be rewritten, or in the best case scenario, converted. If you can if you're bringing some of those tables directly into the Insights data warehouse, kind of, as is, but the Insights data warehouse is a Postgres database and may have some slightly different query formats or table or column naming conventions. So there's at least an analysis needs to be done with that. Many people are not really taking that kind of approach to push everything out to the data warehouse. It's an option, but it has its challenges, or at least a key set of tables. Most people are looking at that data warehouse as a transformational structure, as a new kind of data warehouse approach. So really the way to think about this is that likely you will need to revisit or rewrite all of your reports that aren't already running out of that environment. Equivalently, any direct integrations that you have that are going against, with direct queries against the transactional data, or using custom subroutines or stored procedure components that aren't using the SaaS API, will not work, and you'll have to move that. Any people that are doing sort of self-service reporting activities, who right now are in your organization, who are writing their own reports or queries or extracts from those environments moving forward on an ad hoc basis, they're going to need to be retrained in what the new data sources are. Many of these people, when you're going, also the challenge is if you're doing a SaaS migration and decide to take this opportunity to change tools. So maybe, whereas you used to use a particular reporting tool that was pointing directly at Oracle or at SQL Server, now you're in the new environment, you might be saying, hey, we're going to do something new. We're going to use the Insights reporting tool components, or we're going to, we're going to hook up a new, more modern or alternate reporting tool. So there's a whole training around the tool as well that you need to do. The other thing, and there's some, variance on what the impact is or not, depending on how you're implementing SaaS, but any old kind of custom processes you have, if you had like batch jobs that were running and generating work tables and things, custom tables in Colleague or Banner, those won't exist anymore running in that process. Plus, if you had custom tables and custom views inside the application, those also won't work. Now, there is the ability in Ellucian SaaS to do sort of extended data, so you might be able to replace some of those things with similar or equivalent extended data attributes within SaaS. But for the most part, you're thinking of if you have a bunch of reports that are built off of custom data or custom views or rely on that heavily, that's another thing that's going to be written. So as David Bowie says, you've got lots of changes here, and that's an enormous amount of work. But it is also an opportunity, and even though it is an enormous amount of work, there's ways to look at it and say, how can we pragmatically be as efficient as possible, and the work that we are going to be doing on the rewriting of reports, the rewriting of integrations. First of all, how do we make our employees and staff as educated and knowledgeable and literate around both the new data structures and points of connection with the data system, as well as our legacy and existing and historical reporting and integration requirements and calculations and definitions, so that anything we do recreate is going to be accurate and match what we've done in the past. One of the really good ways of undermining a major migration like this is to have people who are used to looking at reports and numbers suddenly get reports and numbers that don't seem to match, from an expectation or a smell test wise, what they were seeing before, and not have any explanation or transparency as to why that is.